This is Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us today for Live with Annie. As usual, we've started the stream a bit early. This helps us get everything set up and broadcasting properly to our various platforms. You can find a countdown clock on the screen showing how long it will be until we actually go live. While you wait, please connect with us and other viewers in the chat. Let us know where you are from and whether you're a new or longtime viewer. We'll see you live soon! Thanks again for joining us for Live with Annie. We are so happy to have you with us today. While you wait for the program to start, we hope you'll enjoy the content playing on screen. There's so much inspiration, so take a moment to tell us what you love in the chat. Don't forget there is a countdown clock on the screen so you know how long until we go live. It's Annie, back to remind you that we'll be starting this week's live very shortly. We've got a really fun episode planned for today, and we'll see you soon. Hi, I'm Annie of ByAnnie.com and Patterns by Annie. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 11 of season 5 of Live with Annie. Today we are diving into the vibrant world of batik fabrics with someone who knows them inside and out, Jerry Khiev, Brand and Marketing Creative Director for Lumin Fabrics. We will explore how these stunning fabrics are designed, crafted, and made to inspire quilters, bag makers, and creative souls everywhere. Plus, you'll see some of our 5 favorite ByAnnie projects made with Island Batik's gorgeous colors. And we'll talk about a cause close to our hearts, childhood cancer awareness. Before we jump in, if you're watching live, say hello in the comments. Tell us where you're joining from and what you're working on today. And if you're catching the replay, we're glad you're here too. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever you're watching, and tag a friend who loves fabric as much as you do. They can click right over to watch with us. Finally, be sure to add any questions to the chat or comments, and we will do our best to answer them before we close. In our last episode, we were joined by Kim Greenfeld, self-described as the lazy sewist. Kim shared lots of projects and great tips for putting the fun in fundraising as we talked about creativity, community, and giving back. If you missed that episode or want to watch it again, remember that you can find all the previous 193 episodes of Live with Annie on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, or at ByAnnie.com. And we've put up all the links to make them easy for you to find. So today I am especially excited to be joined by Jerry Khiev, who is, as I said, the Brand and Marketing Creative Director for Lumin Fabrics. Jerry grew up in a family of garment makers with parents who sewed for a living. Surrounded by fabrics, patterns, and the hum of sewing machines, he was immersed in the craft from an early age. That passion led him to Island Batik and now Lumin Fabrics, where he blends tradition with fresh, bold design. He works closely on the batik side while also driving marketing efforts to push the company forward visually. Please help me welcome Jerry Khiev to Live with Annie.
Hey, thanks, Annie. Thanks for having me. It's great seeing you. I'm excited to be here and to share all of our favorite up-and-coming fabrics collection and just talk about our ambassadors, upcoming collections with you in the community. So I'm stoked to be here.
Me too. I'm really excited to see you. It's been a long time since we've been together in person, so getting to see you is great. Before we get into fabric and all those things, let's start with your story, because I found that really interesting that you grew up in a family who sewed for a living. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in that world?
Oh, absolutely. I grew up in a family who sewed garments for a living. Our house was packed with just parts of the shirt, the chest piece, to the pants. It was everywhere. My parents had deadlines to meet. They need to sew a certain amount of garments to meet the timeline, and it had to be done. It was what they enjoyed doing. And on their breaks, I would uh, probably a 4, 5, 6 year old kid jumping on the sewing machine to help them.
Wow.
um, you kind of watch and learn, and you end up trying. So when they would go on break, I would jump in to help, do 10 to 20 garment pieces. Um, and and that was my childhood. Living in Los Angeles, I was always drawn to art. I was always drawn to the culture of LA: graphics, billboards, design, typography. It was just such a fast-paced city. The city was so full of inspiration. So being a fan of urban art and design, growing up to love that, it took me to a graphic design school. And then after finishing it, it took me over to a trade show company in Carlsbad, where we end up working with clients like Apple, Lexus, and Sony. And I ended up managing about 7 designers there, sometimes more. But that was the core of it. We did a lot of trade show booths for them. We work with them, work with their brand style guide, make sure colors are on point. Then after that, after working there, I decided to go over to a print company in Vista, California, and that's where I met Island Batik. And they were one of our customers and needed help with marketing collaterals. And I think that was about 14, 15 years ago.
Wow.
And I think the first campaign I did with them was the Quilted and Honors campaign with Elizabeth, with Katie, Kathy. I was brought in to shoot photos. I was brought in to lay out the brochures and be in charge of the look. Make sure that the colors of the fabric and the colors of the marketing collaterals were as close as possible. That we followed our brand guideline. So that was freelancing. So I did that for a couple of years until Caleb, the owner, was just like, "Hey, we need someone in marketing. Would you be up for a full-time gig?" So that's how I got started with them. And since then, I've worked in graphics and marketing with Elizabeth and my wife Natasha, and also Kathy Angle. She retired a couple years ago, but she was the foundation of what I've learned, and my colorations and my silhouettes and all that was from her. So yeah, working with Kathy on fabric production, and then over time, I've gotten deeply involved in creating artwork, developing colorations, working with our Bali team, and just helping our guest designers to work on their original collection. It's been great here. The company's growing, and there's a lot of things going on. So
Oh, I can only imagine how much is going on. And what a fun story to kind of come full circle to maybe you're not doing sewing now, but you're so involved with the fabric that all of us are sewing with. And that's a great story. So I'm curious, when your parents were sewing like this, were they selling it directly to consumers, or were they sewing for clothing companies and stores and things like that?
yeah, so they were sewing for a company that they would get a certain amount of pieces. Let's just say 10,000 pieces that they had to finish in 2 weeks.
Oh my
So yeah, so
word.
once we
Wow.
finished, once they finished, they drove the finished pieces over to the company and continue on with that process. So,
Wow. Wow. That is an amazing
mhm.
job. So they must have had industrial machines and
you know,
all the big
uh,
things
you
like that.
know, the singers, the old school version that they had these oil pan. I just remember trying to move it, helping my dad move it, and the oil would sway back and forth and leak everywhere. Yeah, so
Wow. Wow.
mhm.
What an experience. So you did say, Natasha, also works at Lumin. And I know she's your wife. Did you meet her there, or did you meet before that?
We actually met before that. She was teaching, but then came on to help us. I would probably say about what, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. So she came over to help with marketing, to help push our social media, to work close with our ambassador designers, and and they know her so well because she's so deep in it.
Involved
Our
in that.
designers, ambassadors, they're
Yeah,
just, yeah,
us
they
too,
know the way.
because I work really closely with Natasha, with Island Batik Fabrics. She's just such a sweetheart. I really enjoy her. And I remember that Quilted with Honor campaign because didn't I, it was all for veterans, right? And it
Yes,
was
yes.
fabrics, and you did some free patterns, or you did something with CNT, and I designed a pattern for a
Wow.
little, like a thing to put on a wheelchair. And I remember you did a great job on the campaign for that, because there was a
Awesome.
big variety of fabrics, from things that looked like red, white, and blue to things that were more
Mhm.
camo colored. And it was a fun campaign. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, same here, same here.
So we have worked a lot with Island Batik, but now that you've expanded, you've got newer additions to your family, which are White Owl Textiles and the Ecco Cotton Solids. So what sets them apart, and how did they fit into the overall vision, and what made you go to a whole nother company like that?
Oh, sure, sure. The Whiteout Textile is the in-house studio at Lumin Fabrics. It's led by Danielle Triana. She amazing, amazing. Just her eye and her vision. Um, Tons of experience in the print design, and they focus on the high quality quilt and cottons with original prints, and a lot of their collection that they're putting out is just beautiful. I will show you a piece that I brought from the other building. It's we've tapped into the digital print market earlier, but with us wanting to expand and going into prints, going into solid, we just wanted to really tap into a market and showcase the diversity, and listen to what the market's asking for. Here, enough of my talking, and I brought this beautiful panel piece from Wild Garden that's shipping right now to
To
shipping
stores?
to shops. But I brought this in because I was just so amazed at the quality of this. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's
so
gorgeous. So
take
a peacock and all kinds of
yeah.
flowers. Lovely.
So I brought this one in because it was just hard to carry every SKU, but
Everything.
I
Yeah.
was just amazed at the color, the vibrancy, just the contrast and the look. I know I'm not folding it correctly, but just to give you guys a
We
sneak
can
peek
definitely get a
into
feel for it.
that,
That's lovely. And then I assume you
it's
have
just amazing.
coordinates that go with that to carry it
Oh yeah,
all the
yeah,
other colors too.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of supporting SKUs, and it's just cohesive. And there's pre-cuts that comes along with it, the whole 9 yard, and it's amazing. So the vision of Danielle and the vision of Heather, who's the senior designer there, they just work so well together. Experience, they know the market. They're working and testing and playing around with colorways and patterns that are easy to work with. So this whole collection, and I'm only showing you one panel, but there's more. There's way more. So it comes in yardage, it comes in the panels and the pre-cuts, and yeah, every
That's
release
a,
that they make, um, is it comes with care and consistency in color and quality. It's just it's
nice.
amazing. So it's great to incorporate that under the Lumen family. So
Yeah. And so that company did not exist before. That's something brand new that you created, right?
yeah, it's something brand new that Caleb brought in. He wanted to expand and get into the market because we were really well known for the batik.
Uh-huh.
But we wanted to expand and really tap into the prints and tap into the solids, a lot more. So
Yeah. And so then the
mhm.
Echo Solids is strictly solid fabrics, right?
Yeah, yeah, the Ecco solid. And I brought a board here to give you our first 50 illuminating solids here. You know, I wish I could bring the bolts, but they're just too heavy and too
Yeah.
many of them.
Yeah, for
Just
sure.
just to show
Oh,
you guys our, our first 50 colors. Here, let me see. We have the
that way.
earth
There you
tones.
go.
Yeah. And we have, the blues and the purples and the greens, brights to the neutrals, all the way to the jewel tones, to the earth tones. So these are just 50 that we're starting off now, and then adding more to it.
To
So,
that.
so it's made with soft, high quality cotton, Okiotech certified, and together with the White Owl prints, it just let us offer more options to makers.
That's awesome. What does OKO certified mean?
So it just means that it's tested, that it goes through a various process. It's a certification that goes through the process. So.
Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So we did receive some of those Ecco solids from you, and we really enjoyed using them for some of our cancer awareness projects. Unfortunately, I don't have one of them here because I've been gone and just got back last night, and they're all at my house. But I really loved the brilliance of the colors. The hand of the fabric was really nice to work with. So I'm really looking forward to working more of those as we go forward. I'd love it if you could tell us a little bit, since you're really known for batiks and that's what we have worked with. For those who might not be familiar, can you kind of just walk us through the process of what's involved in making a batik fabric?
Oh, sure, definitely. So batik is truly a hands-on process from start to finish. And the journey that I know is the starting point begins with a white cotton fabric, high quality, tightly woven. And the fabric is usually prepared and cut, at a manageable length. And then it goes towards the wax application. So the artisan, after they're done creating the copper chops, they would take the copper chops and dip it into hot wax, and use that hot wax to stamp on the fabric. And the wax, it blocks out areas that should resist the dye. And the wax, it acts like a shield. So whenever it's applied, the dye can't penetrate it, so those area keeps their original colors. This step, it creates the pattern, the motif, the florals and dragonflies and butterflies that it's known for. So once that's all laid out and stamped onto the fabric, then the next would be the dyeing of the colors. The fabric is dipped into the dye bath. Um, the wax area, stays white, or whatever color was previously dyed before. And sometimes when you see multicolors, here, let me pull this out. Sometimes when you see this, it goes through quite a few steps and this one doesn't have a chop, but just to kind of show you the colors, it goes through a few steps of dipping the dye, washing, dipping, washing. But this right here with the chops is from our blenders, and you can kind of see.
The designs that are on there. Oh, yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So so they would just remove it, just remove all the wax.
And then
And
dye it
once,
again.
yeah,
So they start
yeah, and
with
then
the lighter colors and add colors on top of that.
hmm. So yeah, the washing and finishing, once the colors are all applied, the wax is boiled out and washed out. And it goes through a rinse cycle, like many times, like 3 to 4 times, to remove any of the excess dyes, and they keep doing that. So and then sun drying is crucial. And a lot of times when our artisan and people that we communicate in Bali said, hey, it's rainy season, like we can't really hang the fabrics out to dry because it's been raining here for three weeks or a month.
Wow.
So, sun drying is ideal because of the heat and light, which helps set the dyes, and it keeps the color like fresh, of bright and vibrant. And this is why no two pieces are exactly alike. It's handmade, it's set there to dry, it's vibrant, it's beautiful. Every yard has its own personality. So.
Wow, that's amazing to me. I didn't realize that they had to hand dry it. So what happens when it rains for 3 weeks? Are they just on
So
hold and they wait and do it when it gets dry,
no,
or is there another
no,
alternative?
yeah, a lot of times they're set under canopies or brought indoors, but the beauty about setting it with natural sunlight is you really get that vibrancy,
Huh.
that rich, but yeah, there's photos that the artisans and the people in Bali would send us when it's raining, like all the fabrics are under a canopy and
Canopy.
just hung to dry that way. So
Wow.
yeah, but the best way is to have it with natural sunlight out there
Natural
drying.
sun. Hmm. How
Mhm.
interesting. I'm amazed at how many steps there are to making that. But what I love about the batiks is how rich those colors are. And the tight weave, there's hardly any fraying. And as you said, each piece is unique. So depending on where you cut part of your pattern out of a piece of fabric, it may look totally different in another part, which makes it super
Mhm.
fun.
Mhm. Exactly. I mean, yeah, the personality of it, and we used to say that the front people couldn't tell from the front and back, right? You would get a different story every time you cut a different piece.
Yeah.
The model of the background, it may be a little bit lighter here and darker red here, and then the next one would be totally different, right? It has its own story, and it's quite awesome. So yeah, so people couldn't tell from front to back, and they can use both sides because they're both just vibrant and rich.
Yeah, and that makes it really versatile. It makes it much easier to sew with. I know
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
wasted a
exactly.
lot of time trying to decide is this the front or the back, and finally I just gave up and
Mhm.
said either way works, and no
They
one's
both.
going to know the difference. So that
Mhm.
makes it great. So one thing that I learned when sewing with batiks is because they are more dense and so tightly woven, I might need to slow down a little bit when I'm sewing through a lot of layers. I also learned that it's
Mhm.
a really good idea to have a new sharp needle in my machine. And the needle that we most often use when we're sewing basically anything is a 9014 top stitch needle. And we usually use a polyester thread like SewFINK 50, a 50 weight. But do you have any other recommendations for sewing with batik fabrics?
You know, um, yeah, batiks are denser. I think they're in the 220, 240 thread count, and you could even compare that with a lot of the prints at about 120, 140. But from what I've been told from friends that are sewing, like a sharp needle and a slightly longer stitch, and going at a slower pace will give you the best results.
Okay,
So,
so about the only thing I didn't have in there is the longer stitch, so I will remember that. You also had mentioned that the fabric is boiled to remove the wax and that it's washed several times. So do you still recommend that people pre-wash the fabric, or since this has been washed so many times, can they just skip that step?
Annie, our batik fabrics, they already go through about, I would probably say 3 to 4 rinse cycles during production. So they're well prepared before they reach the makers. You don't have to pre-wash if you don't want to, but I know some quilters, they like to wash before sewing. Personal preference, right? And it really comes down to what makes you comfortable when starting your project. So I've heard both, so.
Okay. One question that I had back to when you were talking, you said you start by cutting the cotton into manageable lengths. Is that like a 10-yard piece, a 30-yard piece? What sizes do they work with when they do that?
I've seen both photos. I've seen both photos to where it's probably 8 to 12 yards. I've seen
Okay.
smaller portion. I've seen them do strike offs at a smaller scale. So I think it just depends on the projects. So, but I've seen long ones that look like about 8 to 12 yards. It's quite
Wow.
long. So,
That's got to be
mhm.
hard. And then when you get that and put that on bolts, are your bolts just one piece, or do you just wind more than one piece on when you make a bolt for a store to sell?
It's just consistent one piece.
Got it.
Mhm.
So the bolt
Yeah.
might be 8 yards, 12 yards, just a variety
Um,
depending on what the
yeah.
piece was.
A lot of Yeah, a lot of our seasonals stay about 12.25 around there. Our in-house foundation goes about 15
Got it.
yards.
All right. Got
Hmm.
it. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the design side of things because that's really your forte. And I know that Island Batik has a really long history of working with the various artisans. Can you talk a little bit about how that collaboration works?
Yeah, definitely. So in Bali, the artisan work with designers, works with us to turn ideas and concepts into fabric pattern. Since the process is very hands-on and labor intensive, they need as much guidance as possible from us. Since they're a keeper of tradition, preserving the motif and adapting to our modern design. A lot of the stamp makers and dyers, they've been passed on this tradition. It's been passed down for decades. So we have a close partnership with them, and we work with them on explaining and cutting fabrics and making sure they understand the process. So for example, if I'm working on colorations and I said, hey, this red must not have any orange, any pink in it, it has to be this true red. And what they want to see is like, hey Jerry, give me an example. Cut a piece of magazine out, cut a piece of fabric out, whatever you have to give me guidance, show it to me. And it's really like that. And I love it because you get to explain it and they get it right away, you know.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's a relationship that, they're bringing a lot of our concepts to life. They're bring a lot of the modern, mixing in with their traditional steps, and it's just crazy the amount of strike off that comes back to us, and I'm just blown away. Like, I'm just blown away. How were you able to create this detailed, or the a complex design like this, and stamped perfectly by human hands, like a toss or even a half drop, and be so intricate and on point, and the spacing is so on point. It just I'm always baffled, I'm always shocked, I'm always amazed. Like, these guys are awesome. So, we work closely with them. We're always amazed at what comes back. The quality of work and craft, like the craftsmanship that they have is just amazing. So.
That's got to feel really good. Do you ever go there in person or do you do this all remotely?
You know, I do this all remotely, and we work together, whether we jump on FaceTime or they send photos over, approving proof to where it's, a certain color that needs to be hit. They would send photos over just for us to get a feel for it, and then they would air freight the strike offs, and we would review it. So we work closely with them. So I haven't been out there because I was just taught, and was able to pick up from Kathy the amount of knowledge, and I didn't have to go out there. I was already working with her so close that I kind of knew how to pick up and take over, and this coloration will work, this type of chop would actually stamp well. So yeah, so I have not been out there, but getting photos and communicating with our artisan has definitely been key. So,
Yeah, that's great. Well, I really loved hearing that you've involved them through the generations and that they're progressing as they go and learning new things too, because that's really wonderful for them. And I think makers really love knowing where their materials come from and knowing that they're supporting sustainable, ethical practices and real human beings are out there doing it. So that's really special.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the artisans, they love seeing what people make with the fabrics, that they spend time on making. And sometimes we share photos with them. Um, you know, uh, when Natasha is posting, they do tune in. So we share photos from customers and makers, like the amazing bags that you make all the time, Annie. It really means the world to them. So they play such a huge role in bringing our concepts and ideas to life. And, they are truly a part of our boutique journey from start to finish.
That's great. And I'm sure that does mean a lot. I know my model maker, she always loves when she sees pictures from a show or sees pictures from a trunk show and see what she's done out there, and people enjoying seeing that. So that's wonderful that we have the ability to share those things with them. So, in addition to the artists that you work with in Bali, you've also worked with some amazing designers as fabric designers. I know we've got fabric from Claudia File, Deb Tucker at Studio 180. I can't even remember all the names that are here, but how do you go about picking people like that, and then how do you choose the designers and artists who help bring these fabric lines to life?
Yeah, some of our designers started out through our ambassador program, what, like 14, 15 years ago. Others have been submitting patterns to us for years. And some would select signature collections to work with. So they've been with us for some times, for quite some time. And we're always looking for people that are within the circle, but also understand how Lumin Fabrics, how Island Batik works, what's our timeline, understand our pattern process, our approach to design and colors, sophisticated designs versus novelty. So all that, I think once we see that they've got a strong grasp or understand the process, we invite them to submit the chop designs. It's just a way of building on those relationships that, that whether they're ambassadors or whether they've been our signature designers for some time, it's giving those designers a chance to bring their creativity to our fabrics.
Yeah, that's a really powerful combination. And that really is, I think, what gives batik such a rich handmade look. So when you bring on a designer, kind of what's your process with them to get a fabric from an idea in their head to a fabric that's produced?
Yeah, it's very hands-on and collaborative. We start by discussing the theme, the vibe. Like what are they going for? Are they going for a floral or a nature, but with hints of a whimsical style or folky? Is it geometric, or is it, with the abstract style? Or, is it hand drawn or is it digital and Illustrator? Or you want to keep it organic and sketch stuff out. So all that matters, and the artist will either sketch or design in Illustrator, like their motifs. And we work with them on scaling, do we have small artwork? Is there a medium? What's the focal print? Is it too condensed? Will it show up? So every single bit of the creative process is always being tested so that they understand and that they see that, oh, this is too thin for the chop making process. The wax won't hold, or oh, my repeat is off. It's too directional. So, I might want to toss it or do a half drop so it's more organic. And, once we're both happy with the design, we send them over to Bali and our artisans will start working on them. The designers, they're involved every step of the way and they approve their chop artwork with our help. We want to make sure that the scaling and that they're happy with the look and the style of it. They work on the colorations with us. They get to pick those colorations. They get to build, and then we get to say, hey, but you're missing this, or you want to try to add that. What about a reverse of this? So doing the repeats to select the strike-offs. So we work with them at every step to make sure that they're happy, that they're comfortable, and that they're getting what they want. So.
Wow. That's really neat to have the East and the West combined and collaborate all the way from concept to creation. I'm curious to know what the length of time is. One thing that I have really appreciated about working with Island Batik is that you're always way ahead of the game. Like the fabrics, they come so early that the models we make sit here for a long time before those fabrics are released. And we're used to working down at the gun and getting it, 2 weeks before the show and then trying to do it. So how do you space that out, and what time do you usually allow from development of an idea to when it's ready to ship to stores?
This is why I have Elizabeth and Kristen and Natasha. We have a we have a spreadsheet so we don't go crazy. We're working on like 5 to 6 seasons at a time. And having those guys really work with to help me work with our guest designers to make sure that, hey, we have a month and a half to work on chops. It's due, is due this day, and then we have to send it to Bali, and then we start on colorations right away. We have about another month, a month and a half to work on coloration, then it goes to Bali. The artisans told us what it takes about a week to make one chop, and here, since I'm talking about chops, I want to show you the
Oh
details.
my gosh.
And this is an older version. This is an older chop that, it's old and broken. It's been used for over a decade, 15, 20 years, and you can see like it's been used so many times because of all the broken copper parts. And I mean, look at the handle. Just
Wow,
from the
you can
handle
tell that's
alone,
been used a lot.
it's
Yeah.
been used, and kudos to our artisan who, man, these guys are awesome. And they understand what we're trying to achieve, and what we're trying to to present out there to shops and makers. So yeah, so I mean, it's so much time invested into it. I would probably say, even though it takes 4 months when a shop puts in the order and then gets the bolt, we try to give our designers enough time. And I think they wait about, and don't quote me on this because I'm just going off the top, but I think they wait about 3 to 4 months before they get their strike offs. So the strike offs are just basically their colorations that they start picking their collections from. So it's such a spread out process, from designing the chop silhouettes to our artisan creating the chops, to designers working on colorations, cutting fabrics, magazine, going to Home Depot with color palettes, and like these paint chips, and cutting those in. And then
To
once we
show you the
ship them,
colors they want. Yeah.
it goes to Bali for about another 3 to 4 months before we even see the strike offs. So it's so time consuming, but we have those guys out there to really take care of us. So
Yeah. And you guys are really good at giving deadlines and reminding people the deadline's coming up and we got to go. But you have to keep it going like that. And I think it's really special for all of us knowing that there's real people, not machines, that are involved every step of the way, because that just adds another layer of appreciation to every stitch that we take. So thank you for doing
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we hope for. It connects people from the artisans in Bali to the makers here. And that's what makes batik so special. Like when someone chooses our batik, they're not just buying the fabric, but they're connecting to the artisan's story, the creativity, traditional values and traditional techniques, innovation. And these are all so many steps that's involved in just making one piece of fabric.
Yeah.
It's definitely special.
Yeah, that makes it really, really neat. So, can you tell us anything about maybe something new that's coming up with Island Batik and Lumin Fabrics? Do you have any upcoming collections that you want to tell us about?
I do. Yeah. We have a lot of beautiful batiks. Because we're launching fall for shops to preview, we have a lot of gorgeous holiday stuff coming. And these are just for shops. They're Halloween stuff, Christmas prints coming, Christmas batik, and nature, and a lot of earth tones, coloration, jewel tones, brights. So, in just a couple of weeks, we're going to be launching our fall line for shops, to preview. I don't want to give away too much, but I just want to say that the White Owl stuff is just gorgeous. I mean, just showing you guys the Wild Garden panel. And that's just a little taste of spring, and then the fall's coming up. So yeah, so spring fabrics are shipping to shops right now, and I think people can check in with their local quilt shops and just ask if they're carrying Island Batiks, if they're carrying White Owl, or even Ecco solids. So, you
Great.
know what? Since spring's shipping, I brought some of the pre-cuts over, and I wanted to give you guys a little glimpse into just the pre-cuts because that's all I could carry over. So,
Oh, that's
so
gorgeous.
yeah, yeah. So this one is Everlasting, a collection I put together of just spring colors, of beautiful like floral motif sprigs. And so this is Everlasting, and then we also have Jewel Tones from Kathy Angle. This one's phenomenal. Like this one's just beautiful.
That's really pretty. I can definitely
Yeah,
see that made into a bag. That'd be lovely.
yeah. It's awesome. And then one more. This is from Dead Tucker called Sunset. Yeah, this is the stack right here. Playful
It's
geometrics,
That's
very
so pretty
organic.
when you see them all splayed out like that together. That's
Hmm.
lovely.
Hmm.
Yeah, they just
Yeah,
go from one to the next so beautifully.
yeah, definitely. It's a lot of great stuff coming.
Nice. Can you go into a little bit more depth about how you choose and combine those colors? Because I know when I've tried doing just painting and you're mixing colors, it's really easy to all of a sudden have everything turn brown. So, how do
Yeah.
you? I know you let parts dry, but when you're doing that, is there a special technique to make sure that it doesn't do that? And when you pick your color combinations, is how do you go about doing that?
Sure. Yeah, let me go into a little bit of our coloration system and what I know about it. So the batik colors, it can look muddy when there's just way too many dye colors overlapping. For example, like I've seen where Christmas should have been green, green and red, and then all of a sudden you get hints of brown, and you're like, where is that coming from? So it's certain techniques, but our artisan always says, hey, give me fabric samples, show me what you want it to look like, I'll make it happen for you. And that has it's been our core, of mixing things correctly, getting the right value, explaining to them like this is a true Christmas, no brown, no gray, unless you want gray. But a lot of times when it looks muddy, it looks like, like there's brown or there's hints of gray that just looks like dirt.
Uh huh.
So a part of it is explaining to our artisans what we're trying to achieve, our color stories. They work the magic. We supply the visuals, and they do their traditional techniques or just techniques that they have that they could trap colors and mix colors correctly. And sometimes you're gonna get a little bit of it, but and sometimes it just doesn't show up. So they work their magics, and they just, we got to let each color shine and let it fully dry in the sun so it's vibrant and clear. And so there's all sorts of techniques, but our artisans are key. They're definitely key. So communicating with them is definitely the way to go. Sharing the visuals with them on what we're trying to achieve, any mood boards, any color palettes, any ideas, like these are what we're trying to get. I don't need brown, I don't need this, I want brights. And they work with us, right? they
Yep.
they do extra strike offs. They send photos. Hey, am I going the right direction? Is it are these the colors within, subtle multis, tone on tones, so they are such a huge part of our success because they understand it. They know the techniques, so um, so they bring the experience and the technique, and we can guide them through visuals and fabrics that we've had that we want to mix and incorporate. So for us, I mean, like we look at color combinations that that people like. What's it can also be popular. What sells? Brights, jewel tones, earth tones, pastels, black and white, and so on. From there, we kind of work on the color palettes. Which chops are we using? Do we have like small, medium, and large? Are we balancing out light, mediums, and dark? Is there enough? Is it all condensed, or do we have some spread out? So every little thing matters, so we look into balancing out light, mediums, and dark, and so the color stays clear and they don't blend into mud. But yeah, a huge part of our success has been working with our artisans who understand the key and what we're trying to achieve.
That's great. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. And you can really tell that they pay attention to the detail. That shows in all the fabrics. We have
Definitely.
really loved them. And I really think the thing about batiks is that it just is kind of timeless. It's not like a design that's going to last for, 10 years and be really dated. The batiks just seem to have a long, long life.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
I
It's
thought
beautiful
I
and
would
it's
just take a minute and show some of the bags that we made using, I think these are some new lines that are coming out for spring, aren't they?
those are new lines coming out for fall. The
Okay.
new ones, which we're going to be previewing that to shops in a couple weeks. But
Couple
yeah,
weeks.
I
All
think the
right.
ones there, the ones there are from Kate Collar and Spring Fling.
Okay.
Beautiful brights, beautiful vibrant brights, and great contrast. The floral pieces, and it looks great in your pattern. And
Yeah, I
it
really
just
thought had fun
is
picking a variety of lights and darks, and these are some of our favorite patterns, Catch All Caddy and In Control. But it was fun to mix and match a variety of different prints, and everything blends together perfectly. And these are so great for a gift for a baby shower or any room of the house, and just fun for spring or any time of the year when you need a pick me up in the middle of winter. This would be really fun to have sitting on your work table.
definitely beautiful.
And then this one, so this is by Claudia File, right? Salsa, I
Yeah.
think, was the name of this line.
Oh, salsa. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Fantastic, fantastic range of orange and some blues. Goes with a bit more intricate. Now, Claudia's style is very complex, and shout out to our artisans who can capture her drawings and her intricate styles to really bring it to life. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I
Beautiful.
can imagine trying to do the closeness on a design like that on one of those copper
Mhm.
chops. That has to be a real test of their skill for sure. And then
Definitely.
we picked a redder one for the inside. We always try to use as many fabrics as we can on a model, but these are really fun. And to me, these would be perfect to carry for fall and to wear when you're wearing blue jeans. Just really versatile. And then we have one other bag that we made that was too big to fit on the table. But this one is a design called Dot Mania. Now, I didn't have a designer name on this. Is this one that you did, Jerry?
I did, yeah, yeah. So we worked on that where Dot Mania was inspired by dots, just circles and dots and positive, negative space of dots, solids to outline, and yeah. So
I'm going
so
to move
that's
this out of the
that
way,
was a
but
fun one.
yeah, it was really fun combining all of those. And I love the darker colors. I think anybody who's making a backpack for a kid or something wants something that's not going to show a lot of dirt. And so I thought this fabric was perfect for that. We did a lighter fabric on the lining, but then the darker fabrics on the outside, and that's going to last for a long time. So a perfect bag to carry on a trip or off to school.
It looks fantastic.
That's a fun one. So one of my favorite things to do has that we have done with Island Batik over the years is your Island Batik Ambassador program. We have been really so proud to support it with a yearly bag making challenge. And I know that Randy, who's one of our team members and also the founder of the ByAnnie Bag Makers group on Facebook, was an Island Batik ambassador for a while. I think that was a couple years ago, and she made some really
Mhm.
awesome projects while she was doing that. So, can you tell us a little bit about how that ambassador program works?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a creative team of quilters, bag makers, designers who share their love for fabrics, and they do monthly challenges. So each year, we have new ambassadors that are selected, given fabrics and also partner products, and asked to create inspiring projects for social media, blogs, and YouTube. So they connect with the community and help spread the word. They are the voice. They blog, they make videos, they shoot photos, and they work hard, so hard to grow the community. Sharing our fabrics, pushing our partner products, engaging with the community, and so on. It's just been amazing to see a lot of them grow, and a lot of them really, go into heavy details and to write such wonderful breakdowns of their process. They're all amazing. So shout outs to the Lumin Fabrics ambassadors.
Yeah, I have really enjoyed seeing them, and I see that there's some that continue to do it year after year. Every time there's someone new, when we do it, they pick one of our patterns, and then we send them the supplies that they need to make it, and you provide the fabric. And I know this year we messed up on one, and there was someone in Turkey that we needed to send some soft and stable to. So you've got people all over the world participating in this, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think we've had people from Greece, we've had Canada, to of course the States, people in Europe. So yeah, just all over, just spreading spreading the knowledge and building the community, sharing process, sharing the photos, telling about the collections from batik to our solids and so on. So yeah, kudos to these guys. They're amazing.
Yeah, and I think I misspoke. I think we sent it to Greece, not to Turkey, but
Oh yeah,
generally
yeah.
out there.
There we go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if someone is interested and thinking, boy, that sure sounds like fun, what would they need to do to apply to become an ambassador in the future?
Yeah, I think well, right now we are in the middle of kind of revamping the ambassador program for next year, so it's still in the works. I think once we finalize everything and we know more detail, we'll definitely share it with the people.
Got it. All right. That sounds good. So somebody could just sign up for your newsletter at your website and get some information about that probably.
Yeah.
I know that we
Mhm.
have really enjoyed our partnerships with them. Ambassadors choose the product, we put it all together, and then they share it. It's really been fun to see it. And we did have a blog post, I believe, that we did last year that we can put the link up in the comments for. So if people want to go see some of those and get inspired, that's all there for them to look at.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm always peeking in to see the bags from our ambassador, and I know you have a challenge. I think Annie, remind me, next month,
I
is
think
it?
so. Uh huh.
Yeah, I think October,
I
so that's
think
going to be
that's when
fun.
it's due. I think we shipped it in July, so maybe it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
October
So
that
I
it's
think
due.
yeah, I think the designers are working on it and they're having fun with it. So it's just amazing to see our batik combine with your pattern. It always looks beautiful, the contrast and it's just magic. So thank you, Annie, for always supporting our our challenge and for always supporting the ambassadors. We're definitely grateful for you. You've been definitely a great partner. Yeah, we're always grateful for you, Annie.
Yeah, we are grateful for you too. It's always great seeing your fabrics and being able to get new bag makers out there involved in it and seeing what they make. So thank you. And again, we'll put the link in the chat for that blog post, and then anybody can just follow hashtag Island Batik Ambassador to get more ideas for it. So let's wrap this up. I have just a few rapid fire questions for you. So my first one is, what's your favorite Lumen fabric right now?
If I were to base that off of collections, I would probably say Everlasting. That spring watermelon color, it's
So
definitely one of my
beautiful.
favorite right here. And then also what I brought here too with the jewel tones. This one right here is it's going to be a fun one. It's awesome. Fossil Finesse by Kathy Engel. So these are some of my favorites. And what makes it even better was seeing projects that our designer create with it, and they would submit when call for project happens, and we're just amazed by what they do with it. So yeah, Everlasting, Fossil Finesse are some of my favorite ones right now.
That's great. Yeah, I always enjoy when your catalog comes out, seeing that. Is your catalog available for anyone to view, or is that only something that goes to stores?
Yeah, if you jump on Issue right now, it's an online digital, like a lookbook, a flip book. It's open for everyone to preview. Yeah, so they could see the collections ahead of time before shop gets it. They could review our in-stock program, or touch base with their local quilt shops on, hey, you need to bring the batik foundations. You need to bring this one's coming out, soon, so you need to bring this in. Oh, I need this pre-cut. So yeah, so it's for everyone, open to everyone.
Great. That's nice. Do you have a favorite bag style that you like seeing made with batik fabrics?
Every time Natasha lays out the designer spotlight, Annie, I am just amazed at the amount of lifestyle photos. So first, I'm amazed at the amount of work that gets put into the lifestyle photos. And I remember what Catch All Caddy were some of my favorite. On the Go, Zip It Up, Two Big Totes. And I remember you did something for Adrian when he was born. It was a changing station.
Yeah.
And yeah, and yeah, so there's just a
You,
lot. Yeah, so you and your team are always doing such a great job with selecting the fabrics, making it pop, the contrast. Like, it just looks so good. Batik and Annie stuff looks so good together.
that's great. I agree. It's a good combination. So when you've got a new design that you're looking to do, where do you get your inspiration from those?
A little bit of everything inspires me. I am a city person that's inspired by, just the rhythm and pace of the city, or when I'm out hiking with the family or at the park, nature is what inspires me, or the mood that I'm in, conversations that I'm having with friends and other makers. That spark ideas. I like to freestyle a lot, and I kind of, let things flow. I collect a lot of records, old vintage 60s, 70s records. Music is a big inspiration for me too, along with memories, culture, everyday object that people might overlook, shadows, like the way things hit, the shadows of tree branches and things like that, to make these are all silhouettes, right? These are
Yep.
all inspiration for your next silhouette chop art. So everywhere you look, there's an inspiration with patterns. Yeah, so all of it comes together and shapes the designs. So.
That's awesome. That's got to be really fun to go to work every day and start something new and come up with a new design or a new colorway or something like that. And then of course there's all the drudgery that goes with it too. Like you said, you were at the office today because you had 18,000 sheets of something to print. So it's all
Yeah, yeah,
involved.
yeah. We're working on a lot of different projects. We're all helping out. We're working on getting some marketing collaterals going. I'm working on colorations. Elizabeth and Natasha, like they're working on getting the newer scans up, and everything is there. There's a lot to do, but it's fun. It's
Yeah,
it's it's amazing, to see it all come together and flow, and see how people enjoy and what they do with the fabrics.
that's great. All right, let's see if anybody had any questions. Oh, yep, we've got quite a few. So I'll read them and I'll let you answer. So the first question was, does the dye run on batik fabrics?
It depends. Our goal is to, when it goes through the cycle, and it washes 3 to 4 times, we're trying to get all the excess dye out, and we wash it and wash it and wash it. So, I haven't heard of any And maybe a while ago, like for example, if one doesn't set, or you bought a batik that may not have set, and it does, it may run, but a lot of our batik, from what I've been told, have been great. I know Elizabeth's always working on quilting up in Canada, and she quilts and cuts a lot. She doesn't wash it, and it's been great for her, and a lot of our ambassadors have worked with it. So it goes both ways. If you would like to wash because it's one of your process, feel free. But when it goes through the rinse cycle, it goes 3 to 4 times through it. So
It's mostly gone. Yeah, we never pre-wash any of the fabrics we've used, and I've never noticed a problem with
right,
running
right.
either. The next question is, what types of thread are best for sewing and quilting batik fabrics?
Ooh, that's one that's not up my alley, and I apologize for that, guys.
Okay, well, what we use
Yeah,
is a 50 weight polyester thread, and we've had great success with that. But I think a cotton thread would work well too.
yeah,
So I think, like you and I both said, the important thing is the needle, making sure you have a nice
yes.
sharp needle,
Mhm.
and that's going to go through that because it's so densely woven. This question, probably not up your alley either. Do you have any tips for quilting batik fabrics on a long arm? And I'm going to
You know,
guess you don't have batik. If you do, you have
I,
ideas?
I I don't, but I do have a good friend who's always working on the long arm Claudia files. So this is one question that I will send to her, and I will get back to you, Annie, because she's
Okay,
got the tricks and techniques on working with long arm. And yeah, she's every time I see her at market, she's always talking about it or showcasing and doing this with the long arm. So
nice.
this is up her alley. So
Good. Well, I know that all the pieces that we usually work with have been quilted on a long arm too. And I've never had my long arm say that she has to do really anything special, but I will ask too, and maybe we can do a little follow up answer to that
that
next time. So I'll follow up with you and find out. The last question is, will Everlasting be available as yardage or just as pre-cuts?
both, both.
Nice.
So check in with your local quilt shops, but yeah, they're available. 12-yard put-ups. Yeah, check in with your local quilt shops. So they're available in strip packs and stacks, and also yardage.
Nice. Nice. Well,
Mhm.
Jerry, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really a treat to learn about the Batik process, your journey, the amazing things that are always happening at Lumin Fabrics. And if viewers want to find any of your fabrics or be inspired by your designs, where do they go to look?
So they could follow our social media on Instagram and Facebook at Lumin Fabrics. If you guys want to check out the seasonal catalog, I was able to get I was able to get older versions up there too, but you can also check in with shops. But the catalogs are available to read on Issue, ISSUU. And the best way to shop is through the local quilt shops, and just ask if they carry Island Batik, White Owl, or Ecco cotton solids. If they don't, encourage the shops to reach out to us, and we can get stuff going with them. We're working on the new website, so that's coming soon. So yeah, Lumen Fabrics on Facebook and Instagram. We just launched the Ecco cotton solids on Instagram that we're going to be going back and forth with the Lumen Instagram, and just showcasing more projects, showcasing more colors. Yeah, a lot of great stuff coming.
That's great. Well, Jerry, it was great to see you again. I hope I'll see you and Natasha, maybe Elizabeth too, and all the rest of the gang at Houston in October. So bye for now, and I'll see you then.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Annie.
Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed hearing more about Lumen Fabrics and how batik fabrics are made. So be sure to ask for their fabrics at your local quilt shop. Also ask for our patterns and supplies there. As I always say, these shops are such an important part of our sewing and quilting communities, and it really is up to all of us to keep them strong and vibrant. And as Jerry said, if they don't have the fabrics, they can get them directly from them. Lumin Fabrics. If they want ByAnnie patterns and supplies, they can get them from their favorite distributor or directly from us. And we are always happy to set up wholesale accounts for qualified retailers, so just ask them to contact us for more information. And of course, if you're looking for local quilt shops, remember that our friends at Shop Hop Inc. have organized some really great shop hops for the summer. So I just found on the desk today all their books, and I wanted to kind of share a little bit. So there is a shop hop that's all Ohio, which features 86 shops. Another one, Illinois, that's 69 shops. Both of these started on August 1st, and they'll run through the end of September. And then there are 3 more state or region-wide shop hops that start this month and run through the end of October. So there's the All Carolinas shop hop, which has 55 participating stores, the All Missouri shop hop, which has 87 stores, and the All New England shop hop, which has 83 stores. So if you are planning some late summer or fall road trips, be sure to stop in and visit a new local quilt shop along your way. Many of these shops that are participating in the shop hops are displaying ByAnnie trunk shows, and we'll put up the links so that you can get all the details for where all these are. Talking about ByAnnie trunk shows, I am also super excited to say, I'm going to take this out of my ear for now, that I will be presenting an in-person lecture and trunk show on Saturday, November 1st at Silver State Stitch Shop in Boulder City, Nevada. So this fun shop is one of the 4 Creative Hub winners in our 2025 LQS contest, and part of their prize is a ByAnnie trunk show. It was supposed to be a virtual prize, but since they are so close to us, I decided to just drive over and do the event in person. So Jessica, who's the store owner, has reserved the historic Boulder Dam Theater, which is right next door to the shop, for the event, so there is plenty of room. And we're going to start at 1 p.m., so you'll have time to shop after the trunk show and still get home before dark if you're driving into Boulder City from any of the nearby areas. So Boulder City is in southern Nevada. It's near the border with Arizona. It's close to Lake Mead National Recreation Area and Hoover Dam, and it's about 20 miles southwest of Las Vegas. And I will be showing some of our newest products and patterns. That's going to be aftermarket, so I'll have everything that we introduce new there. I'll be sharing some behind-the-scenes stories about the design process and also demoing some ByAnnie techniques that I hope you'll be excited to try. Cost is just $10 for the event, and you can register at the store's website. So just visit silverstatestitchshop.com for more information, and we'll put up the link to make it easy for you to find. Another topic that I want to be sure to cover today is our monthly cancer awareness reminder. So September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and every year thousands of families hear the life-changing words, "Your child has cancer." Though it's rare, childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among children and teens, and yet it receives far less funding and attention than adult cancers. And childhood cancer isn't just one disease. It includes lots of types like leukemia, brain tumors, sarcomas, and each of those requires treatments that are tailored to young and developing bodies. Sadly, many of those treatments are decades old, and they can cause lifelong side effects. And survival really depends heavily on where a child lives. Over 80% in high-income countries survive, compared to less than 30% in many low and middle-income nations. So that's why every September, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month shines a light on these realities, honors children and families, and pushes for better funding, research, and support. Awareness campaigns focus on key issues: the lack of funding for pediatric cancer research, the shortage of new treatments, and the long-term challenges that survivors face. Behind every statistic is a child with dreams, a family fighting tirelessly, and a community offering support. While progress has been made, much work remains to ensure that all children have access to safe and modern treatments, and you can help by donating, volunteering, or simply by spreading the word. Together we can bring hope for better treatments, healthier survivorship, and one day a cure. So for our part, we decided to highlight a project that a child who is dealing with cancer or other challenges might enjoy. So we used the colors for cancer, which is gold, to make one of our newest Jumpstarter project fidget toys. So this pattern includes 2 projects. First is, move those out of the way too. First, we made a little marble maze, and we also made our little SOA constrictor. So again, the color for childhood cancer is gold, so we used a combination of fabrics from Riley Blake and Moda. And remember that we have prepared a chart, color chart showing solid fabrics from 16 different manufacturers. So if you want to make a project to help spread awareness, you can find colors here. And you can find links to this chart on our blog or just by going to the SewPINK page at ByAnnie.com. So for the marble maze, I used just a variety of solid fabrics and added a little bit of gingham checks in to do the patchwork front. And then to add to the tactile experience, on the back I used a lovely gold minky from Shannon Fabrics for the back of the maze. Then for the SOA constrictor, I decided to give myself a little bit of a challenge. So I went to my EQ software, which is electric quilt software. I found a foundation paper piecing pattern for a square and a square block. And the blocks on the SOA constrictor finish at 2 inches. So I printed enough foundations to make 8 blocks, and I went to work. And then I joined each of these blocks to make the top of the snake, and then used gingham for the bottom. And then I added some eyes. I layered several buttons for that, added a little tongue for it, ribbon for its tongue, and I really love how this turned out. I think that any child facing cancer treatment or other challenges would really enjoy these quiet and relaxing ways to focus, relieve some stress, and or exercise their fingers. And I really have no doubt that their medical team and caregivers would really enjoy them too. So I hope you will be inspired to make something to spread awareness of childhood cancer too, and that you'll be moved to donate funds to childhood cancer research. Consider making donations to the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. Their website says that 100% of donations go to research, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, or other reputable and trusted organizations. I know it will be put to good use and will bring hope to many. So thank you again to everyone who joined us today. We will be back on Wednesday, October 1st at 2 p.m. Mountain Time to kick off our 7th annual SewPINK campaign. We will have lots of info and projects to share, so mark your calendars now. And until then, happy stitching!